This is Good Morning San Diego.
Judge McAfee, presiding over former President Donald Trump's Georgia election interference case, has dismissed several charges, 6 in fact. So what does this mean for the 2024 presidential hopeful? Joining me now to discuss this more is criminal attorney Vikas Bajaj. Vic, welcome back to KUSI.
Thank you.
All right, so there are two clouds over this case. One, some of the charges seem to be, and there's also the misconduct between the DA, Fani Willis, and her Nathan Wade, her investigator, or an attorney on the case.
Yes.
Let's separate the two. Are these two, or first of all, the throwing out the 6 counts, or throwing them out temporarily, does that have anything to do with whether or not she's going to stay on the case?
Yes, to the extent that it lets us know what the judge is thinking about the case and how judicious and detailed he is. These 2 motions, the disqualification of the district attorney's office, Fani Willis, etc., and Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, and that relationship is a totally different, mutually exclusive issue than the specificity with which the complaint was pled. Judge McAfee said, hey, you need to give the defendants proper notice, Paul, and that's what it is. And the way it was pled, it was so vague that you cannot have a proper defense created. So go back, district attorney, I'll allow you to amend it, make it more specific, and then you can refile. So those charges aren't dead. Now, on the other side, Paul, the disqualification, that's the elephant in the room, because that could be the death knell for the entire case, at least as prosecuted by the Fulton County District Attorney's office. The reason why I say that is the Attorney General's office is an office that's always there on the state level throughout all the states, and Judge McAfee could order Fani Willis to be excised from the case, but the AG's office to come on in, or another prosecutorial agency.
Because it's important to note that the main RICO charge, the meat to the sandwich, if you will, that's still out there, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the court was very clear about the fact that those RICO charges were not subject to the same scrutiny regarding the specificity so that the defense can properly prepare.
Did you watch any of Willis's testimony when she was on stand, the DA?
I watched the entirety of it.
I mean, watching that, it's hard to see how, I mean, what's the rule? Even if there's an appearance of impropriety, aren't you supposed to be disqualified?
You should be, and if there's an appearance of impropriety, meaning a conflict of interest, Paul, prosecutors and defense attorneys, you learn that in Law School 101, how to identify a conflict and how to avoid it at all costs. People who saw her testifying, and I've talked to hundreds of people since that testimony, most people I spoke with were floored at the lack of professionalism, intellect in their responses, and really the emotional aggression.
All right, so while she waits to learn her fate, the judge who's in the case, who was at the time running unopposed to keep his seat on the bench, suddenly now he's going to be primaried. It looks to me like just out of the blue that came up. It seems like a way of maybe putting a little pressure on the judge to keep Mrs. Willis on the case. You say?
I say that's absolutely correct. We can never prove it, Paul, but we know what it is. It's no miracle in the timing of this case that there are contenders now to Judge McAfee that have significantly different political outlooks and are very vocal about it. It's another way of putting pressure on the bench, unfortunately.
Man, it just reeks. I mean, where's blind justice? It doesn't exist.
If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, Paul, well, we know it's a duck. And what's happening here is we have a rotten case. From a legal standpoint, forget about what may have been done correctly or incorrectly. And we see now the Trump defense team, as well as the other defendants, are slowly excising the rotten parts of the case until really the gravamen of the case, which is the facts leading to the indictment, are the only things that will stand. The challenge is, will this ever see the light of day with so many legal constitutional challenges? That's a hard-pressed answer to give anyone. But as we talked about this last year, Paul, yep, I can't imagine this is going to trial anytime soon.
Vic, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming in on a Thursday morning.